you think about attachment, relationships, and think about how we operate as a human being, we are social bonding mammals, and we operate with relationship with other people. So if you think of us like an analogy of fish in the water, I'm a fish and my relationship is my water. If you take out fish out of the water and you throw it on the ground, it will look weird. It's the same thing. When you take a person, I remember working in this company, and they said, this is the problem with one person. We have one problem with one person. Well, if you just take them out of what's happening in their relationship, it will look weird, that they are weird. They behave weird. But now let's understand what's going on. How do you guys trigger it? What cycles you get in? Now we understand there's a whole bunch of dynamics. And they got rid of that person, and guess what? Another person took their spot. Because it's always somebody else, right? But no, we cannot look at the person individually. It's always about the relationship, the cycle that they're in. The EMC process consists of 3 stages. The first stage is called de-escalation stage, or a stabilization, where we de-escalate people in a way that they will create safety. It's all about emotional safety. We teach people the language of triggers and raw spots. Everybody has raw spots. Raw spots are basically sensitivities that we have in our relationships, and we come to work with those sensitivities. We teach people the language of emotions. We teach people how to respond to emotions, the automatic thoughts and protective behaviors. The next stage is teaching people how to be ARE, accessible, responsive, and engaged. All of our work is experiential. We don't tell people you have to behave differently, or you have to be more empathic, or you have to listen better. No, we actually do the session to experience it. So people can actually be moved with that emotion. And the last part is repairing the rupture, where people can actually turn to each other and share. This is where the bonding moment happens. It's okay for you to tell me, it's okay for you to tell me, but what we want is to talk to each other. So you can turn to each other and share your vulnerability. How many of you heard Brené Brown on vulnerability? She talks about it all the time. Well, how do we become vulnerable if we don't know the language, if we don't know how to open up and share those vulnerabilities, how to create that safety for me to actually do it? That process helps to do that. And what we see is that people become more self-aware, they become more understandable, so people can call out the cycle and say, hey, I think we're getting stuck in a negative cycle, where I'm trying to defend myself and maybe attack you, and you trying to defend yourself and attack me. Maybe we can just slow it down and take it a different way, can understand what's going on for you, what's going on for me. And now we can respond and react differently. This is the steps of the stages of the process, and in those conversations, in emotional connection conversations, you do create safety. You do start to feel more heard, more understood, more valued, more important, because now I'm talking about emotions. I'm talking about my vulnerability. I'm not attacking you, and we're creating space for each other's. Now we can understand really what's drive us into this negative cycle, and we start to restructure it.
I want to bring something important, because as I was sitting in the chair and thinking, maybe some of you think, what about the competency? What about the person's competency of doing the job? We're not working with competency. We have plenty of tests. You all have plenty of tests to measure the person's competence and ability to design and manage and do things. What we're focusing in, connecting people at workplace so they are at optimal place in their workplace. They have less stress, they have more resilience, more connections, and the most important, in the moments when the stress comes, and the stress always comes. I mean, I know myself, you sit in the office, everything looks great until the sales manager comes in and says, we lost the deal. That's a tough thing to swallow. Or engineering manager comes in and says, Jack, remember we're supposed to release it in 2 months ago, but we're going to be delayed because there's a typhoon in Taiwan and there's a flooding. We get stresses all the time. What we're doing is to help people to do the right things in the moment of stress. Because when there's no stress, you're good. Everybody's smooth, you're moving along, the groove is big. It's when the stress is big, the groove becomes very narrow, it becomes a knife edge, and you can fall off of it very easy. The first thing we do is assessment. It's a very simple assessment. They take it online, and you get a report. I mean, every assessment you take, you probably get a report. But this one is quite different. This is quite different because we're not focusing on behavior and what needs to be improved. What we're focusing is the environment of connection with an organization. If an individual takes assessment, we tell them, hey, this is where you are in the context of your life within the organization. If we take the summary of the team, then we see where the team is. And usually it's divided in green, yellow, and red. And you want more green, less red and yellow. That's the bottom line. And look at this. This is a result we did on the team. 38 people in the team, and they had difficulties. They couldn't get the projects on time. They couldn't complete the specifications. The customers were not happy. And they came and said, help us to understand why we're not succeeding. I have PhDs on board. I have people who are very smart, done a lot of things in their life. We put them together, nothing works. And what we found, look at this. They're not accessible to each other. This is where you want to be, in the green. They're in 27.5. They're not responsive to each other's needs. Instead of being here, they're here. They're not safe with each other. They challenge each other more than cooperate. And then what we find, the conflict resolution and reassurance is not existent. You see, it's in the red. In the moment of stress, they can't resolve conflict. And they don't want to go to HR for everything, so they either shut down or become aggressive, nothing else. Look at the turnover intention. That's a person thinking, maybe I don't belong here. I need to move someplace else. This is the worst thing you want in your employees to have, to think that they don't belong in the organization. We want them to want to belong. In this particular team, this is a good range. They were right here. The intentions, and this is the range of the whole team. Some people were here, some people were here, but on the average, this is what the team felt like. And finally, relationship attachment style, and that is, in the moment of stress, how many people go into the withdraw or pursue? How many people say, I'm done with it, or I'm going to just be angry? And this is the range. Some people will say, okay, I'm okay, but some people, most of the people, you can see it went all the way to here. And that means person says, I'm withdrawn, I'm done, I don't want to hear you guys anymore. I've put everything I can in this company. I'm not getting the results I want, and people don't care about me, right? And then this is what it looks like. Look at how much red and yellow in the organization. Disengage, conflicts, and this yellow means in the process. That means there's not fully developed conflict, but close to conflict, not fully engaged. All of this, there's only 28% people are connected in organization in this team, and 6% feel engaged. Rest of them in someplace else. And then we take the process and we take them in. Now, in the organization, no matter how big organization you have, like Chip was talking, that's 6,000 people. He basically implemented this program across 6,000 people in Edison. That's a big organization, okay? We need to start with people on the top. They have to buy into the system. You can start from the bottom, but the management needs to be driven. And that's the same as if any of you are familiar with ISO standards, like ISO 9000, ISO 14000, right? This is a quality control. In that place, we always have to get buy-in from the managers. Once manager buy-in and says, we want this, then we can go bottom up. But if the management doesn't buy into it, it doesn't work. We have a leadership team that we work with. Then we take managers and staff and all employees. Some people just need training. Some people need to have one-on-one work, and some need to have two work, right? If there's a big conflict, it always occurs between two people. Even if we have a team of a lot of people, you always find two people fighting, and everybody around it just kind of gets stressed around it. What we found that even though there may be a difficult situation in an organization, as you start healing or protecting or repairing connection between two people, everybody else starts healing around them. Everybody else starts feeling safer.